Hi, and thanks for joining us here at Rose Quartz Mediumship podcast, where we simply adore anything and everything healing and metaphysically based. The other night, I was in the hot tub with my husband, and we'd been in there for a period of time. The stars were out. It was a clear night. It was just beautiful. And we were sitting there staring at the stars and chatting about this and that. Nothing really important. And there's a typical amount of time that we're in the hot tub when we go into the hot tub. And we'd kind of gotten close to that period of time. And my husband asked if I was ready to get out. And I said no. And he'd started to sit up. And so he sat back down in his seat because we're pretty consistently on the same page about when it's time to get out of the hot tub. And by that, I mean we are fully cooked in the hot tub and ready to get out. The heat has gotten to us and we are ready to cool down. And while that was absolutely the case, I was absolutely cooked from being in the hot tub. I was experiencing something that I didn't want to stop experiencing. I was in my seat and I was wiggling my legs back and forth. And the more that I did it, the more that I really sank into the experience. And I was feeling the resistance that the water was pressing back against my legs as I was pulling my legs up towards my body. And just really noticing what it felt like to feel the resistance. And even though there was resistance, to still move against it, to still go where I wanted to go. And simultaneously, I was feeling the water and what it must be like for the water to be pressing against my legs in resistance to them moving. And then finally surrendering and just allowing the movement to happen inside the water. And I was very much lost in the sensations that were happening inside of my body as I was moving my legs in the hot tub against the water. And like I said, it was a perfect evening. The stars were out. There were no clouds. There was the sound of the wind that was whistling in the woods, and the wind chime that was playing in the background as the wind moved it. And I was completely lost in the sensory experience of being in the hot tub and moving my legs against the water. And I'm honestly not sure how long I did it for. But then I sat up and I looked at my husband. And I said to him, I'm just really enjoying the way that it feels to be in my body. And he giggled a little bit and smiled at me and he said, I can see that. Because I had been completely lost in the experience. And then I looked at him and I said, it's kind of sad, huh? And he could feel the energy shift and he said, what do you mean? And I said, it's sad. All of the years that I have had this body and I haven't been able to enjoy the sensory of experience of being in it fully. Because I was so disassociated from my body. It was so uncomfortable for me to be in my body that I disassociated a really long time ago. And while I was constantly doing things to put me in my body. It didn't feel safe to be there. And it wasn't until I went through a somatic training and dove deeply into the world of somatics that I actually found safety inside of my body. That I actually had a desire to not only get into my body, but to stay there. To be present with the experiences that I'm having inside of my body. To be curious about them. And my husband sat there looking at me in the dark. And I think he said, yeah. And while I was talking to him, he very much understood that I was talking to myself all at the same time. And then I slid back down so that my shoulders were under the water. And I began to wiggle my toes rather than moving my legs. And I closed my eyes. And I just soaked in the absolute gratitude that I have for somatics. This human body that I have is the only thing that makes me human. Otherwise, I wouldn't be having a human experience. And I had missed the magic, the absolute magic of the sensory experience that I could be experiencing. And I allowed myself to feel the sadness that I was feeling because it was there and it was true and it was real. And I allowed that emotion to be exactly what it was, and I felt it fully in my body. And when I felt it, just like all feelings do when you feel them fully, it released. And in its place was gratitude. Yeah. Maybe I missed a whole bunch of years where I could have been enjoying being in my body, actually being in my body, actually feeling, actually being present. But you know what? I have it now. And for that, I'm so, so grateful. I hope that you have a beautiful morning, day, evening, or night, wherever it is that this podcast finds you.